Hello, my dear friends. This is Tatiana Lazarev, a recruiter, and welcome to our Friday casual chat. Today, I would like to discuss networking. I know networking sounds annoying to many of you because it means connecting with people, making new introductions, and trying to make an impression. So all those things, they are quite stressful. And as a recruiter, you can imagine I witnessed multiple stories when networking was successful and candidates ended up getting promotion or a new job just as a result of their active networking. And I was thinking of collecting those stories and sharing them with you. But while I was doing it, I realized, why not share my personal journey? Because when I came to Canada 14 years ago, I did not have many connections. In fact, me and my husband, we only knew a few people in our community. And even though I didn't know many people in Canada, I ended up landing all my jobs through networking. I'm talking about 4 different roles. So the first role that I had in Canada would be classified as a survival job because we needed to survive. We needed money to pay for the rent and to sustain our well-being. And unfortunately, at that time, it was the best solution for our family. So I started working as a receptionist in a small clinic where I was in charge of admitting patients, dispatching, and maintaining files and records in the system. So as a receptionist, you can imagine I was exposed to a lot of people. Some of them were returning patients, others were new patients, and of course with experience, and I spent about 9 months there. I learned how to communicate, what questions to ask, and eventually I ended up landing my first professional supply chain job through networking as a receptionist with my patients. So that was the experience that worked for me. I was so busy, exhausted, and tired, so I wasn't actively looking for work. My husband was doing that. I was simply working and making my minimum income. So I was happy, and I certainly did not expect that to result into a new job, but my initiative, my confidence, my ability to communicate helped me land that job. And of course, I believe in reputation. When someone sees how you work, even if it is your survival job, if you give it 100%, if you are fully present, doing your best, helping people, they recognize that you will probably demonstrate the same attitude in another place, so they feel safe to recommend you. Keep that in mind, because in Canada, networking is a huge part of professional development, and your reputation, of course, matters a lot when people recommend you and when you recommend someone. So keep that in mind. So my second professional job, my technically third job in Canada, happened as a result of my performance at work. I worked as a replenishment analyst for Hudson's Bay, and in my role, I had to communicate with external vendors and with our domestic stores. So one of those vendors that I worked with was impressed with my dedication, with my results, and because company was facing certain challenges, I was open for new opportunities. That was when my vendor invited me to work for them. So that's how I got my second professional job in supply chain, third job in Canada. While working in that other role as a sales analyst, supply chain analyst, I realized that I needed to move up, I needed to grow. However, I didn't feel that I was ready enough. So I started investing in myself, I started investing in my education, and that's when I focused on achieving my CPIM with ASCM Toronto chapter. So it took me about 1 year to complete all 5 exams and then successfully pass and clear for CPIM designation. After that, I started looking for more senior positions, but I realized that it was challenging for me as an analyst to jump out of that analyst pool. All recruiters that were reaching out to me were reaching out with similar titles and relatively similar compensation packages, which I was not happy with. I wanted to make a move. I wanted a more senior position. I wanted to be recognized, and I wanted my CPIM designation help me in getting higher compensation and more recognition in the new place. So one of my friends, she knew that I was looking for a senior position, and at her level, recruiters reached out with management opportunities. However, she recommended me, and recruiters that reached out to her ended up connecting with me as well. So I got that connection that eventually ended up being my first leadership role in supply chain through my friend who connected me with a recruiter. So again, it was networking with my peers, networking with my colleagues at work, and of course nobody would recommend you if they didn't know how well you performed or if you were not a trustworthy person. So again, being a great professional, being respectful, and a good friend, a good peer would also help you in getting that new opportunity. Every time you interact with people, you are networking. Networking is a slow process, and you have no control of the outcome of networking. You cannot predict the results of your networking. That's why sometimes it may feel discouraging, because making new connections, making introductions involves your dedication, involves your ability to present yourself. And for many of us, especially for introverts, it is a stressful exercise. So I'm with you. I completely understand what you are going through, and I'm sharing my story to tell you that there is light in the end of the tunnel. It does work. However, yes, you have no control over it because it's up to other people. And of course, it's up to you to do your best and be a decent human being when you interact with your colleagues, with your managers, with your customers, with your clients, with your friends, and with your neighbors. That all contributes to your personal branding, and that all contributes to how people see you. And of course, being a good human being, being honest, genuine, and humble person will shine through, and it's a good habit to have if that's how you communicate. So after that leadership role in supply chain, I decided to take a break. It was for personal family reasons that I took a couple of years off work, and that's when I started thinking about my next step. And of course, by that time I had my CPM designation. I had 5 years of supply chain management experience, specifically demand planning and sales analysis. So the roles that I was looking for, I expected them to be more fulfilling. I wanted to identify my calling and I wanted to find the role that will talk to my strengths and help me become a better person and bring more value to the world. And that's how I started thinking about possibility of becoming a recruiter. And at some point I woke up and I changed the title on my LinkedIn profile. I said recruitment consultant, and that's how I got leads, and that's how my future employer connected me, because one day I decided who I wanted to be, but it was my internal work, my inner work, to identify my goals, to identify my path. So it was my initiative to take that path, to start from ground zero in recruitment, after having a few successful supply chain positions and after being designated to work in the supply chain field. And of course, roles that I ended up having later in my career wouldn't be possible in the very beginning of my career. So I invested in myself, I invested in my education, I worked on my relationships, I respected people, I learned from people. Of course, there were mistakes. There were mistakes when I was not the best employee, maybe. We all go through that, we learn things the hard way, but for the most part, I did my best and I was a reliable, responsible person at work. And I suspect people, and I understand that people were happy to recommend me. And eventually I ended up hiring myself. After a few years as a recruitment consultant, I decided to become principal, an independent recruiter. And I've been doing that for the past 5 years I've been running my independent recruitment practice. In fact, in June I will celebrate new unicorn expert's birthday, 5 years. And of course, the amount of experience that I gained as an independent recruiter is huge. And the way I communicate with my clients and candidates right now is different from how I was communicating 5, 7 years ago. We all learn through experience. So if you do not communicate, if you do not go out there, talk to people, you won't be able to improve your style, your understanding of people. So I encourage you to do that. Look at me, I'm an immigrant in a new country, having, English is my second language. So I'm trying my best. Of course, there are moments when I doubt myself, but thanks to my family, to my close friends who support me and encourage me to do more. Of course, networking resulted in new jobs, but I was actively searching for work. I was interviewing, I was applying for jobs, and I believe all those interviews that I looked at as unsuccessful, they made me a better candidate. I learned the hard way through those interviews how to present myself in a nice way, I eventually became more confident. So everything matters, and remember, when you look back, everything starts to make sense. So believe in yourself and share your stories of networking. Next time I will share successful stories of my candidates, how their networking helped them land jobs in Canada in supply chain. So guys, thank you very much for tuning in. It's beautiful weather, it's May, so I wish you a successful Friday and enjoyable, relaxing weekend.